that concerns you as a consumer, where we educate you on goods and services and fight for your interests and protect your privileges.
The commission, does this. We do investigate
bank. So when you lodge a complaint with the bank and after 2 weeks, maybe you didn't get a response or you are not satisfied with their resolution.
TSTV, connecting your...
Hello, welcome to Consumer Community, where we discuss about consumer education, consumer privileges, and consumer rights. Today we shall be discussing about education and its impact on Nigerians, and having a look at having seen the challenge of ASU in Nigeria. Over 805 days has been wasted since 2015. That's about two years, and if you look at that, it's about 3 academic calendar. And looking at that today, I'm being joined by Dr. MUSTAPHA Mohammed JAMIU, a lecturer at RUDN University, Moscow in Russia. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
It's glad to have you here in this studio. I hope the weather is there any difference between Russia and Nigeria?
Likewise, it's my pleasure to join you on the studio today. And I say good day to Nigerians anywhere they're watching us from all around the world. Of course, there are different, the weathers can be different. It depends. Currently now in Moscow, it's also, they are running down into an autumn. So meaning it is toward the end of summer. So while Nigeria is a bit cold and hot, it's more of getting more colder in Russia currently. So
I wouldn't want to experience that cold. However, today we want to discuss about education and the plight of consumer in Nigeria. However, tell us generally the impact of education on the society at large.
Well, education is an important aspect of life. Many philosophers or many people have defined what education is, and but to take it from some will say education is a tool to take one away from darkness into the light. And some also said in Arabic word, some says that education is the highest place and highest things, and that nothing can ever be above it. So they say al-ilmu ala wala yu'la shay'ali. It means knowledge or education is in a high rank place and nothing can be on top of it. So if something that is considered as the highest place and it is considered as a tool to take one away from darkness into the light. And some also said something, I think it's Malcolm X also said that it's a tool, it's something that will help you to prepare for the future.
So society and education must go together.
In order for that society to be developed, in order for that society to be better than where it's found itself, the education of that particular society must be of standard.
Now having experienced different parts of the world, how do you now rate Nigeria in terms of the reflection of education on our day-to-day activities? How does it reflect, or do you think we have about 90% success in terms of has it reflected in our day-to-day development, governance, understanding of the society, and our impact on our environment? Has education actually shows any impact?
Honestly, this part of question is one of the most hardest one to answer, and it's also one of the most easiest one to answer if one can be, if we'll be sincere with one another. The reality is that Nigeria is not really there yet.
Right.
It was, some would say it was, based on how the society was in about 50, 40 years ago. But as Nigeria of today is concerned, compared to other countries around the world, it is not where it's supposed to be, even compared to the numbers of educated people that the country has produced or still producing. Or to look at the numbers of higher institutions that the country has, Nigeria shouldn't be here. The nature of the country shouldn't be at this state. It should be more developed because it should reflect it, meaning Nigeria should be in a light mode if many of our people are truly educated, except what we are experiencing is schooling rather than education.
Now, we're looking at that also. We have what we call brain drain, and it's becoming a very serious issue. Before, we usually experience brain drain in medical sectors, where doctors, nurses, you see international organization, international community coming to Nigeria, doing interview for Nigerians and taking them abroad for medical or related work. But now we are beginning to see a brain drain even in banking sector now, because there's this report, was it last week, that most bankers are now resigning to go abroad, especially if you have IT related knowledge in terms of, because it's said that in the global world now, we are doing more very well in terms of the IT financial sector. So how do you see that? What do we do to reduce this brain drain so that these people can actually be beneficial to Nigeria, where they actually learn?
There are many phases to this. One is about everyone are looking for conducive environment to work, to live, to sustain themselves. If that is no more there, then it becomes you'll be looking for another habitat. It's like animal looking for a good habitat to live. When your habitat is becoming more of a help for you, you need to shift from that particular habitat. It is no more about the fact that it's my fatherland, it's my motherland. It is about me living well and making sure that I live a good life. That's number one. Number two is that how well am I being compensated with the kind of knowledge I have, and with the numbers or amounts of resources I've put into my education. Then now the result of what I've put my energy, my money, and all those stuff, I'm not getting the result again. And I'll have to also say, let me look for another place where it is being well appreciated. That's another phase.
So now that dollar has even appreciated to about 700 naira now, Nigerians will just think it's better I go for that dollar compared to staying here.
That's another thing. That's okay. Even if I want to manage the country and I'm managing to say I'm being patriotic, but the money, the salary I'm receiving is not does not worth anything. Yesterday, someone was telling me that if you have 1 million naira in your account of today, it's more like you have 100,000 naira or even 50,000 naira. It's worth nothing when it's come to using it to buy something in the market.
But if we are not here today, if we are not here after this learning, after this process of learning, perhaps education is more subsidized in Nigeria, so they say. So if you go through all this learning, and you're not here in Nigeria to really be beneficial to Nigeria, are you patriotic enough?
For me, the first thing, my answer to that is that I want to say that living in a country will make me being patriotic. The question is, what am I doing, even while I'm abroad, to impact the society? The first is that me living in abroad, I didn't go to abroad not just because I want to be among the exit generation, as one scholar defined it. I'm not an exit generation. The only thing that took me out of the country in the first place was for me to better myself in order for me to improve what I've been doing in the system before. So that's number one. Number two is that while I'm even abroad, I have series of projects and programs that I'm running that are impacting my direct society and people around me. I have a program, I have a mentorship program which I use virtually to train and also give fellow youth information regarding how they can develop themselves, how they can also get to also be exposed into a world, larger world. That's one. Number two, I have my people on ground that also go into the community, affecting people directly. So most of the knowledge I've been acquiring or I have acquired are still being used largely into the community or the society which I'm not living.
No, where I would expect a diaspora agency to do more to annex at least more benefits to Nigerians while doing that. However, since we are discussing consumer-related issue, there is this particular thing that every Nigerian have that belief. I wouldn't know how you help us, having experienced the two global and being in Nigeria for some time. Now, we believe that if you go to school abroad, you tend to be more knowledgeable and you have good results compared to when you study in Nigeria. So, are we going to attribute that to the condition of learning, or the academics, or the curriculum, or how do we place that? Because they believe that if you are in Nigeria and you came out with a third class, that if you are in abroad, you better come out with a first class in the same learning process but different learning conditions.
Because as a social scientist that works with her behavior and attitudes rather than 1 + 1 = 2.
Assumptions.
Yes. So I would say that it could be differ in the sense of human and humanity or personalities. because we're different. That is one. Some people will say that it's environment or it is a society because there are many excuses around us. Excuse of saying that, oh, I'm the one sponsoring myself, I'm the one working and doing all this by myself. Two, someone could talk about electricity, that how it is not strong enough and how it is not balanced. And another person can also relate or rely on the fact that the economic factors of the country, so, you know,
Right.
so they are all factors that could affect. But some people also argue that why do we have many other people that are also in the same situation being first class in this same system? That's another thing.
Well, I think in that case, if you go to private university in Nigeria, they tend to have more first class grad, because I watched one live on television, and in economics, about 12 persons came out with first class. But if you go to normal federal government school, you hardly see somebody that will come out with first class in 10 years. So looking at that as well and relating it to abroad, you see that there's a little correlation between private university and studying abroad.
I wouldn't want to delve into a conspiracy theory regarding what is happening in private universities of Nigeria, but I will still say a bit about that today. When we talk about abroad, even in abroad, it is not everyone, it is not even up to 20% that usually get that particular first class. Getting first class comes with a lot of things. It comes with you living your entire time, you know, devoting it into something. It comes with how much you understand and you get that particular thing. So first class is also not being shared anyhow in the abroad. But comparing to private universities in our country today, it seems that there's no respect for that particular edge again. And many have been talking about the issues surrounding that. That maybe, you know, we've seen what's happening in private secondary school and those, what have you, how the students tend to get straight A's in WAEC and all those stuff.
To even stop that, because I recall when I was in primary school, I remember that there would be a class of mark, whereby we have first, second, third. Someone can even go out with 20th position, and that reflects true knowledge of it. But if you go to private school now, see that every student in that class comes out with first. I now wonder, how was the yardstick that you used to judge this? Perhaps if you see the result, I find it difficult personally when any of my word comes with result. I would look at it. How will you score everybody like this? Perhaps if you go to the next person, the same first. So how do we really measure true level of education in this case? So private school itself, I think there is need for more monitoring on what they are giving out,
because it's becoming something of they want to project themselves as the best universities and having more first class or better results by the student in order for you to bring more students into their school, attracting more. We won't blame them. We will still blame the government partly about the fact that they failed to project the government universities with the one that has all the necessary resources and have quality teachers and all those resources there. They fail to project it much more better.
More challenging is that if you go to this private primary school, let's look at that level of education, you discover that most teachers, they are not even qualified. If they have about 20-25 teachers, you may only see 5 people that have College of Education certification to go with. And this is but you cannot go to any government school that you not see qualified teacher. Hence, people still prefer to take their child to that same private school. And if you go to a country like Rwanda, private school is even more discouraged. You don't even want to establish a private school because you may not see students in your school. So it's a very big issue that government school in Nigeria will avoid it for private school, whereby we expect government to have the requisites and the standard as it were, but it's not the same thing.
While we will talk about the problem of the government, or the problem of the people not taking their students, their kids to the kids,
right,
to also look at the problem of the government also as well. So when we talk about quality education in Nigeria, it's important for us to know that we're all stakeholders in it. The parents are stakeholders, the teachers are stakeholders, the government are stakeholders. And every stakeholders must own or take on their responsibility,
right,
do it correctly in order for us to achieve a better education in Nigeria. Right. So when we talk about why people are taking their kids to the private universities or private colleges or secondary school, we've seen how The secondary school one, we've seen what is happening. It's becoming more about marketing, becoming more about the profit. It's becoming more about.
It's much more profit oriented, indeed. Yes.
So they need that. So if they are even focusing on that and providing a quality education and having quality teachers there, nobody will be bothered about that, because originally, why should education be free in the first place? Why should education be free?
That's a question Nigerians wouldn't like to answer.
No. We should be sincere with one another. What I will tell you that education is different from schooling. Literacy, you can have it anywhere. It is not about going to a university. It is not about going to a secondary school. The only thing we know that the government owe it to you to have basic education. That is to have from primary to universal basic education, GSS 3.
That's what government actually owns.
All around the world, government only owe you basic education. Higher education is a responsibility, a choice, because it is not a certificate of success. We have to get to a point where we take that thing down. Pushing higher education or certificate, we've turned to a certificate environment and a certificate society, when that particular certificate are not even doing anything. It is not the certificate that will work. It is the person that is behind the certificate that will do the thing.
Interesting. But in Nigeria, we expect it to be free to an extent.
So
and I think
nowhere in the world, nowhere. Some people will give examples. Some people will say, why Finland is doing that. The question we'll ask you is that, what is the population of Finland?
Right.
What is the population? Population of Finland is not even up to 10% of Nigeria.
That's quite interesting.
So it's a Nordic country. Most Nordic countries, the way they even work on the population, giving birth, or even allowing people to enter their country, because
it's controlled.
It is well controlled. It is not a tourist country that you say anybody is going, I'm going for tourism. Who are you visiting? What are you visiting? What's your business in my country?
Why are you there? All right, thank you. We'll be speaking and dissecting the issue of consumer and education with Dr. MUHAMED, JAMIU from RUDN University, Moscow, Russia. So we've got a breather now. We look forward to see you again. Thank you for being part of this program. Consumer community on BRTV. My name is ALIYU, ILIAS. Matters that concerns you as a consumer, where we educate you on goods and services and fight for your interests and protect your privileges.
The commission, does this. We do investigate
bank. So when you lodge a complaint with the bank and after 2 weeks, maybe you didn't get a response or you are not satisfied with their resolution.
TSTV, connecting your world.
Consumer community on BRTV. My name is ALIYU, ILIAS. Matters that concerns you as a consumer, where we educate you on goods and services and fight for your interests and protect your privileges.
The commission, does this. We do investigate
bank. So when you lodge a complaint with the bank and after 2 weeks, maybe you didn't get a response or you are not satisfied with their resolution.
TSTV, connecting your world.
Welcome back to Consumer Community, where we're discussing your rights, your privilege, and all you need to know about consumer protection. Today, we've been joined by Dr. JAMIU, MUSTAPHA Mohammed JAMIU from the university. And today, we've been discussing education. If you have been following us, you see that the issue of education has been a breakdown, as it were, to a layman understand and why we should do more, both government and private. So, Doctor, we've been discussing about education. Let's look at ASU. ASU has been on strike for the past 6 months, and if you look at that, it's about a session in the university, and that means the calendar year has gone in the strike. And if you look at from 2015 to 2022 now, ASU has been on strike for about 805 days, and if you look at that, it's about 2 years and about 3 sessions must have been complete. That means every student in university have lost average of 2 sessions, which simply means 2 years. So if you have to use 4 years in your university, you have 2 years have been traded off because of ASU federal government face-off. Isn't that a challenge to you?
Oh, of course, for any meaningful Nigeria, it should be a big challenge. If I would say I'm not in the country, what about my younger one? What about my cousins? What about my siblings? What about some of my students? So, and I'm not only teaching Nigerians. I have series of programs and projects in Nigeria which I'm working on that has to do with mentorship. I have a lot of my students that are also complaining, talking about this, the problem they're facing. That's one. my country, talking about how is my country taking education seriously, should be of good concern to me or
Right.
anyone around the world. So it's a big one. It's not because I'm not around. So it's a big one, and I think that the parties involved, they are not being serious enough. They are not looking into the fact that it isn't about them. It all goes down about governance. And it means that they don't even know the essence of governance. If they know the essence of governance, they will know that they are playing with the future of the youth that are going to take over, or that are supposed to be the major reason the government itself is working.
These leaders in government also pass through this university before they become what they are today. Perhaps, what do you think? Haven't they, because I haven't passed through the education system, they should be able to better the perhaps if you look at some would argue that maybe because the leader has education did not pass through, maybe perhaps he went through military education, but it's still education and it's still teacher that teaches them. So what's the problem between the federal government and ASU that cannot be settled, that people have lost this level of years?
Well, because I'm not in their system,
right,
and except what they told us through the media, that we know that this is what is happening. We've heard many stories, many stuff, but we know that definitely they ASU are fighting for what they think it's their right. The government is also standing for what they think they can do or what they've done. So the two parties are claiming that we have given you, this is what we can do. And this one is saying you have not done enough, even according to maybe our previous agreements. Now, all this boils down to the money. So money. Let me give you some example. And maybe some of them, some will argue it's fine, it's okay. But my own opinion and based on my own analysis, I'll bring out two different analysis from some countries around the world and from what is happening in Nigeria. For example, I had some interaction with some professors in the system in Nigeria they tend to be sincere with what is happening. Some of them are not happy for the fact that ASU, it's more like ASU is holding them, not allowing them to even do what they have passion for. ASU is saying you are the one we are fighting for. And they are also saying that we are not working just only for money. We are also working to impact, and our students are at home. But unfortunately, we are with you. We have no option than to work with you. But most of them are tired of even sitting because they are not able to impact or even to develop themselves for further. That's number one. Two is another analysis, another thing I tend to have. How much those higher institutions in Nigeria bring into the system? I mean, generate. In terms of tax, in terms of generation. How much do they generate?
In terms of school fees payment.
In terms of school fees and all those things. How much compared to what government is giving them? If you look at the budget of some universities, you will realize that it's much more than what they are remitting into the government. So who is at loss? The government or them?
Maybe government is looking at the welfareism part of education and provide an affordable education to Nigerians.
Normal, yes. So now, we will say that maybe the government, lots of Nigerians or lots of people that studied in the federal universities in Nigeria does not know that they are schooling, they are on free education.
Subsidized education.
Absolutely. Very minimal. And when someone was analyzing, the person is on an assumption that Nigerian government is spending, I do not work for government, I'm not working for them, but Nigeria is spending about ₦1 million on each student per annum. The question you'll be like, how are they spending it?
If
we break it down from salary paying to the teachers, the one they are using for the management of the facilities, if you break them down, you know that it's more than ₦1 million on each student
per annum.
Still, you see some of these normal Nigerians that are benefiting from it being the one complaining and the Nigerian hasn't done anything to me. That's not even the discussion now. The discussion is about the leaders, the leading parties, stakeholders.
That's academic staff union, university.
Now, their own is that it's high time. It's high time, sorry to say, it's high time for ASU to know that university education should be commercialized. They should be the
But
ones.
they still have some commercial entity within the school, like cafeteria,
now
production
now
of
if they have
sachet
that,
water,
they
and
should
what have
fund.
you.
They should fund a lot of things by themselves.
Infrastructure.
The government will give you the
You
infrastructure.
expect them to
what they are
fund
fighting for is not infrastructure.
It's
Government
part,
has given them.
Instead, it's part of it because is it PTDF?
Tax fund is there
Right,
for
tech
them, which
fund.
ASU it was set up through the ASU itself. Yes, ASU fought for tax fund.
No, I
for
agree.
it to be,
Yes, I agree. And in fact, it's still, during Babangida era or something.
Yes.
And I agree they still benefit because some of people that are school with their PhD, they still give them about 5 million naira
Yes.
grants. Once
Yes.
you,
They get grants for research. They get grants or funding for structures. You will see it everywhere.
No,
Even
they
the
have-
state universities
most
that
of
are
them
not
have
federal
structures.
or are not part of
They
the ASU
benefit
are
from,
benefiting
from
even
TED fund,
largely
yes.
than the federal university that's
benefit
supposed
from
to.
TED fund.
So that is number one. You will now know that TED fund can even sponsor. They can have a trust fund,
Right.
education fund for the students.
So now, having discussed about the lecturers, now what do you think about the government?
No, absolutely. Two things I would say about the government. Mismanagement of educational sectors in many ways. It's not even about money alone. Knowing what to do. Look around the world. How are education being managed? Yes, it's been prioritized, highly prioritized. For example, in a country where I'm lecturing, and we have some university called research-based universities. And these research-based universities tends to be the one that produce the results and the research they do, and the results are what they use to improve their countries.
That's another thing.
It's mandatory
So,
for them
like,
to bring results, and they use their results to create.
but if you look
things
at
in the
this
country.
now that it's the time of university lecturers, they were able to develop UTAS, their own platform for payment. But other problems are there that we expect them to provide solutions.
So that is the
Because
another
that's
question you
another
now
thing we
ask
are
yourself.
looking
That
at, yes.
if you call yourself academic staff and you are into academics, we will now ask you the questions. You are not giving us money.
Right?
You are also not giving us results from your research that are not even being able to use to even develop our society for better. How are we getting from that? Is where the government are mismanaging what they should do. Apart from not giving money, they are also not managing it well. So we have what we call quasi-market education that they are using in the UK.
All right.
Don't they make their money? The UK is making a lot of their
But
money.
are you sure
through
those money will
education.
not go back to, let's not go there. Dr. Mustapha, we've talked exhaustive. I mean, we cannot exhaust the issue of academics because I know that's your own area. Perhaps you want a better education in Nigeria. So now, the issue of ASU is about the government, about the ASU coming together to find a better place to settle this issue. If not, we'll lose more,
So
much
straight
more.
is for ASU to come on board and say we are also ready to see a way how we can also fund ourselves. We generate the money. Then they can also put the part of the government, when maybe through their generation, they generate their tax, give them their part, but pay your staff.
I hope they listen to someone like you. Dr. Mustapha, having discussed with you, I think since you are in diaspora, so to say, so how are you benefiting Nigerians?
Well, I have been doing that before I left because when I first finished my first degree, I returned to Nigeria, and I started projects through my company called Coin Consult. Then after that, I returned back to Russia. Then after that, I have a series of projects going on that are benefiting the society directly. One of it is through the Coin Consult, and the new one that we just launched called Center for Research on Development of African Media, Governance and Society.
Right.
What we do strictly is about research-based developmental projects. We do research. The result of the research is what we use to do one, to implement in the society within our own capability, and two, to push for policy that the government can use to work in
Right.
society.
Thank you so much, Dr. MUSTAPHA Mohammed JAMIU, for being part of this program. It's been educative and informative as well. Thanks so much for being part of it. Now it's clear now that every process needs to be well managed internally, because a well managed internal educational system will reflect in Nigeria and benefit the society at large. Thank you for being part of today's program. We look forward to see you next time. Thank you for being part of Consumer Community. Thank you. Consumer Community on BRTV. My name is ALIYU, ILIAS. Matters that concerns you as a consumer, where we educate you on goods and services and fight for your interests and protect your privileges.
The commission, does this. We do investigate.
Bank. So when you lodge a complaint with the bank and after 2 weeks, maybe you didn't get a response or you are not satisfied with their resolution.
TSTV, connecting